Welcome to the Professional Women's Wellness Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Peggy Gleon, creator of the Mindful Eating Approach, where I help professional women and business owners with a tailored path to weight loss and self-confidence without the stress of restrictive diets, time-consuming exercise regimes, or medications. I help you transform your eating habits to enhance all areas of your wellness, and we always offer inspiration, motivation, and education with amazing gifts. Today, I am honored to introduce our next guest, Stella Scott. Now, Stella Scott she defies limits. I love her story. She was a dancer who conquered club feet, and she founded a dance company at the age of 20. Opera singer, oh my goodness. And she graced stages as Elvira and the Queen of Night. Oh wow, can you imagine this, everybody? But Stella's magic extends beyond artistry. She's a coach, Gestalt therapist, and astrologer. Celestial insights infuse her practice, aligning careers and nurturing self-love. Stella's journey inspires authenticity and purpose. She wants you to look yourself in the mirror and say, I want to be her. Stella helps women leaders transform their self-image and life story, guiding them to become the queens of their own lives through a unique blend of holistic practices. She speaks, get this, 4 languages, holds dual passports, adores cats, and champions sustainable living with a classy wardrobe consisting of 80 to 90% secondhand garments. And she can teach you how in her classy vintage mastery course on her app, Cosmic Strategies. Wow. I will tell everybody it's unbelievable what Stella has accomplished in her life. And she is now in Sweden. So we're talking across the globe here. It's great. It's great. So
Yes.
welcome, Stella.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me and telling my story.
Oh, it's a wonderful
Really,
story to tell.
it's kind of strange. People go like, "What? How is this even possible?"
It's wonderful, wonderful. And I would love for you to tell our listeners, how did you get started from being, of course, becoming a dancer with a disability to speak, and then all the way up to becoming an astrologer, all that stuff in between. So how did it start?
Yeah, that is a good question. I would say that it started when I was a child because I had
Mhm.
so many diverse interests. But I knew that I really had to be very focused because I had to learn to walk 5 times. So it was a question of being focused, and that kind of focus is not disciplined. It's more of a longing for
Mhm.
something
Mhm.
that is perhaps impossible, but it doesn't necessarily have to be, apparently. But from there, it was really a question of how do I stay focused on what I want to do with all these interests? So
Yes.
I studied at Pratt Institute School of Fine Arts in New York, in Brooklyn, and there I studied theater.
Okay.
But I was admitted as a designer.
Oh my goodness, this is so fun.
As
Uh,
a theater designer for costume and stage design. And the beautiful thing with Pratt was that we had to take a class of everything within the theater arts. So I had my first acting class there and then. And I always had this desire to be a dancer, but that was like impossible because I was, had this disability. But I danced since I was 4. And from there, the dean of the theater, Jordan Hart, said, Stella, have you ever thought of becoming an actor? And I said, no, really not so. But I transferred after my first semester into acting. And then when I came home back to Sweden again, I incorporated that with my dancing. And from there, I was so interested in what is behind every person. I mean, the character that you're embodying on stage as a dancer or as a singer or as an actor, it doesn't matter. And that has been part of my interest always, because I did think about, should I become a doctor or psychologist? So it was like, what is it about people? And ever since I was like 8, I was thinking about what is truth. So I was I laughed a lot, but I was a very deep child at the same time.
I guess so.
So all these things eventually led to the astrology. And I didn't know then, but right before 30, we have something that is called Saturn return. And that pivoted my life. And from there, I decided to go into studying to become a Gestalt therapist and use that to help people become more of themselves, because I went through a crisis. I mean, like the deep kind. And I really had to do something with my life that was different from the dancing. And from there, I realized I'm actually a musician. I have to sing.
Oh, this is so
and
cool.
Dance is music. And it's the embodiment of music. But I had to like come and get that out of the body and out into the through my voice. And everybody said, that's too late. You can't do that when you're in your 30s. And I was like, yeah, watch me. I've done this before.
Don't challenge Stella.
So
and then to the moon next.
I'll try to stay here, but it's hard. No, then I had my second Saturn return at 57, and I pivoted again. And that's when astrology came in and said it's time, because I was interested when I was younger, but I had to choose. And then I was on YouTube and I saw all these astrology things that I didn't understand why. And it's finally got to a point where like, do you want me to click on something?
Oh my goodness.
Because I was not looking into, I was looking into personal development and other things that were like close by, but not astrology. I looked into tarot and and then I clicked on something, and first I did not recognize myself at all. And then I watched, got to see like, perhaps I had the wrong birth time, and I looked it up because I was not a Pisces rising, which I thought first. And then I realized, no, I'm a Capricorn rising, and that checked all the boxes. And from there, it was like the sinkhole was there, and I was just gobbled up. And here I am, and I went through a training, and now I'm a professional astrologer.
This is such a cool story. So when are you writing your book? Your biography would be a bestseller for sure. My goodness, you've done so much. It's a wonderful thing. My goodness. Wow. So you said something that I wasn't sure, something about Saturn return, a Saturn return. Did I hear that right? Okay. Would you like to explain what that means?
Yes, absolutely. Life moves in cycles. And we can all recognize certain cycles. And you have probably heard about, the 7-year cycle. People talk about that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's Saturn. So Saturn moves around. And when you come to the fourth part of that, that is your first Saturn return, which means that Saturn is in the exact same position as when you were born. And at that time, somewhere around 27, 28, 29, close to 30, thereabouts something happens. And it goes for everybody. It could be that you get married, that you move, that you're done with your college education. Something big happens. You move into a crisis, you have your first child, whatever. And when you look back, you can probably see that, when I was 28, or I moved to a different state, or I did this or that, or my parents died. I mean, something happens there.
Yeah.
And then it's the same thing when you come to your second Saturn return, because it does another like 7-year cycle thing around your chart, and you have a new epiphany of some sort. And I realized that I don't want to do this kind of therapy. I want to continue with personal development and help women along in their lives, and to actually come to a point where they love themselves and have this feeling of I want to be her when they look themselves in the mirror. Because
I love that.
I had that experience of, and it was not an easy time in my life. It was like, oh, I want to be here. It really was like, it was a rough period, but the way I carried myself through that, I looked myself in the mirror in the bathroom, and I could just feel this feeling. I really want to be her. And I was like, whoa, what happened? What is this?
I can't imagine.
And from there, I decided that, astrologers, or the universe decided for me, who knows?
But what, oh, wow, talk about an epiphany. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that was.
It just happened. And it's interesting because you think about those, I'm sure for everybody listening would think about what happened around those ages. I know immediately it came to me. I knew exactly what was going on. There were big things too, every 7 years. And I never would have put that together.
No, that is one of the things that is so fascinating with astrology, is that you can suddenly trace and understand certain things that happens in your life, and you can also understand yourself better. You can see things and oh, that's why.
Yes,
Sometimes you
yes.
fight against something that is actually your innate nature and genius.
That's amazing.
And
Now, that's so cool. But there was another thing that you had said, something about more Capricorn, and I just wasn't sure what all that meant before.
right, yes, sure. So you have a rising sign, and that sign, I used to say that it is the sign that in which you enter the world, and you allow the world in. It's like a portal to the world. So most people talk about the sun sign. So my sun sign is Gemini. But and so that is like some kind of like the core of what I'm here to become. It's not. It is. I am a Gemini, big time, but I usually say that I'm a Gemini sun because I'm very much a Capricorn at the same time, and it was through my Capricorn rising how I was perceiving the world and how I exposed myself to the world, and my survival mechanisms are very Capricornian. And from my upbringing and from what happened in my life, had it not been for my Capricorn rising and the way I handled it, I don't think I would have been here today. I needed that just, the goat that like climbs the wall, gets like out on the limb, that further out and just stands there. It's like, how do they do that? But when you have a Capricorn rising or a strong Capricornian energy archetype in your chart, you know exactly, because I am that Capricorn. That's how I do it. And it's like, I could just so relate to that part. Very serious, very ambitious in a way. But for me, not that much ambitious as being someone who is going out and like, look at me. And I want to be that highest on the hierarchy, but an inner ambition, compared to Pisces, which I was not, which is more like the world, more like helping out and more flowy and dreamy in a way, in its way. I show up in a jacket that's very Capricornian, while a Piscean would probably show up in something more flowy, and I'm not going to say flower, but that kind of feel about it. Yeah, and that goes for every sign, if we go around the chart. But those were the two when it comes to me.
Oh, that is great. What I'd like to know, I'm really curious because this is just so fascinating to me, and you're so amazing on how you can articulate and explain it in language we understand.
Oh, thank you.
But tell me how all of this astrology affects our health.
That's absolutely fascinating. I am not a medical astrologer, but there are medical astrologers.
Oh, okay.
And so I did read a book and watch some stuff. And my teacher, she has a whole course, a whole education on becoming a medical astrologer. But when I was looking into my disability in my feet, I could see it in my chart. It was like, no. So you can see certain every sign has certain parts of the body. So if you have Aries, it's the head. If you have Taurus, it's the neck and the ears. If you have Gemini, it's the lungs and the arms. So you go like down. And if you have Pisces, it's the feet.
What's Scorpio?
Oh, that's the intestines. That's the sexual organs and your colon.
Okay, that's good. Okay, I mean it's fascinating because I'm thinking about different people, my family. I'm like, I wonder if that has anything to do with it.
Yeah, it absolutely does.
It does.
So,
Wow.
so that way you can use astrology to understand things better and also how to mitigate and find cures through your chart. But that has to be like someone who actually knows what they're doing.
Oh, knows what.
Yeah,
I know this isn't
me.
like a deck of cards go, oh, that's me. I don't think so. No, I'm sure it takes a lot of education.
Yeah, yes, it does. It really does.
My goodness. So, how do you approach when you have a client? What does that look like? Because what do you do first to figure out what's going on? You find out, say somebody comes to you and says, I'm really struggling with, I'm going to try to make up something. I'm really struggling. And because we're both entrepreneurs, that may be a good question for those listening. I'm really having trouble progressing in my business. And this is just made that up, but what if somebody came to you with that?
The first thing, of course, is that I need to know when you're born, exact time of the day, and where, and the year, and all of that. So when I know that, I can see where your ascendant is, and that will place all the rest of the houses around. So we have 12 houses, and they are connected to different parts of your life, several different parts of your life. And sometimes you can feel like, how can all of this fit into one house? But that's part of the why it's like confusing and why you need some education and hand-holding while doing it. So I would look one thing I would look into, it would be like the second house, which is the house of money. I would look into the fifth house, which is the house of joy, and also the house of where you emit your passions. It can be playful, but it's also the entrepreneurial risk-taking house. Oh, and I would look into the 10th house, which is your public persona and how people look, how you present yourself, and what people see from afar. And there's a placement which is called the MC, the midheaven. Where is that? It's usually placed in the 9th, 10th, or 11th house. So that was also what kind of what people look up to when it comes to you, what they admire about you. So I would look into that and see what happens. And then I was also, of course, look at what is happening around, because the planets are constantly moving. So they're moving around. You have a chart. It's always the same. There's so many levels of the chart. So you can look into timing that is going on that we can't see, that is beyond this. You need education, like progressions and what kind of year you're in and what time lord you have. And I know it's a lot of lingo. Just bear with me. So,
no, that's okay. That's okay. You're the one with all the knowledge. So we're just listening and soaking it in.
Yeah, it's like, what is she talking about? But these are things I would look at and see. No, we talk about money. So we have the second house. But on the other side, we have the 8th house, which is the house of other people's money, taxes, for instance. Or inheritance. They'll also see what's going on in those angles and see whatever that is. Then we have the 6th house, which is the house of what is going on in your workspace, your daily chores, and your health. So the 6th house is an important house when it comes to your health in general. And you have to have a good work environment, so to speak. Also, if you have your own company, you might have people that are your subordinates. Those are also placed in the 6th house. So it's a big image to look at. But I would, depending on what the problem is, if I don't know how to market myself and how am I going to get out there, I would look more into the MC and your ascendant, for instance.
Yes. And I know a lot of the people that watch this podcast really need help with self-love and accepting body image. And you
Yes.
had mentioned something about looking in the mirror, and that's what really hit me. It's like, I love this because sometimes I'll have my clients look in the mirror and just say, I love you.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure, where does that come in?
Where does that come in?
Like the self-love, what,
Yes. I just wanted to that I heard the question properly. You mean within the chart?
yeah. Well, yeah. How would you work with somebody that says, I just can't stand how I look anymore. I
Yeah,
don't have
that
any
would be the first house.
confidence,
The
right?
first thing I would look at would be the first house and the ascendant. What's going on there?
Oh, okay.
So that was like my Capricornian, but because that is a lot of your body. But I would also look at the moon because the moon represents your body and your memories. And when you have a bad relationship with your body, you have memories. Someone told you that you're not okay.
Yeah.
And
That
this
makes
is where I
sense,
also
right?
can dig into my 30-year experience of being a therapist. And I have worked with a lot of heavy, superbly painful clients. No, they're not the clients. They have been amazing, but they
Yeah.
have gone through like
Oh,
incest, sexual
sure,
abuse. I mean,
sure.
like I have had the heaviest kind of,
Oh,
not
sure.
war and not torture, but it is torture to go through those things for a child. So if you have that as a history, you usually also have self-contempt when it comes to your body.
This has been such an enlightening interview. I mean, I'm loving this. I could ask you questions for 2 days more.
Sure,
Um,
no problem.
I know we have limited time here, but
Yeah.
this is so fascinating. And so do you have workshops? Or is it just individual clients?
I have worked mainly with individual clients. What I am doing now that I would say in a way experiment. I have of course worked with groups and I have been teaching a lot. I have been teaching at the Royal College of Music in Stockholm and I've had a lot of group teachings. I've also had therapy groups. But what I have launched recently is a class called Classic Vintage Mastery to help women shop secondhand and look fabulous and love their bodies at the same time. So it's not really, I've had on my LinkedIn page, you can see I have a couple of testimonials about that, and it's so much more. Because I want women to come to the point where they respect and honor themselves and their bodies. And you can do that in so many ways, from so many angles. And that is why I also say that I come from several different like holistic practices.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really a question of I do this, this, and that, but there's one goal, and the goal is for you to love yourself and look yourself in the mirror and say, I want to be her, and mean it and feel it. So that is what that course class is. I also have another course class, which is the sleep puzzle. I used to have, because of my PTSD from all my surgery and everything. I had sleep problems for 45 years.
I'm
I
sorry.
went through therapy.
Yeah, you had what? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Yeah, I speak fast. I know.
No,
Sleep problems.
Oh,
for
sleep problems.
45.
Oh boy, that's hard.
And I went through therapy and everything, and I knew where it came from, but I didn't get to it. But I ran into energy psychology and was completely hooked. So I'm certified advanced blah blah in like EFT, TAP, blah blah blah, all kinds of different modalities.
Oh, I love it.
When I was working with that, and I think this might be a way, so I started to work on my sleep, and after 2 years, I was cured. So I sleep. So then I developed a program for people with chronic sleep problems. I mean, decades. And I have a 100% success rate of people sleeping better.
Oh my goodness, this is huge for women.
Yes, it is huge. But the thing is that it's still the same thing. It's a question of loving yourself, trusting yourself, and being safe enough in your body to allow yourself to sleep, because I was not safe. That's why I didn't sleep. And this is what I have seen with my clients again and again and again with sleep problems through all these years, because that shows up that they aren't safe enough. So I have so much to say about this. Oh my God, that's
I know.
that's
This one, I don't want this one to end. I'm so curious. This is wonderful, but I know that we're getting close to our time, and I can't thank you enough for your wisdom, sharing all of these amazing things that you've done, and how you can help people get healed. That's what it's all about, is
yes.
healing. We're all trying to help women, or you may work with both men and women, but we're trying to help everybody, improve all aspects of their life. And that's what you're doing. And that is,
Yes.
I am so appreciative of the work you do. Now, you do have, I believe you were offering a free gift to the listeners. Is that correct?
Yes. I have an app, and the name of the app is
Oh,
Cosmic
wow.
Strategies. And you can find it on App Store, and you can find it on Google Play. And it also has a accompanying site. So it's more or less the same if you prefer to look at it on the web, or if you have the app. But on that app, I have added, and I'm still adding because it's fairly new, I'm adding new things. So when you create your own account, you will get into the back end, and there you will have all kinds of things about like my small lectures, like 10 to 20 minutes about certain things. I talk about style, I talk about astrology. So there are like different categories. And I also have guests coming in, writing articles about their specialties. So this is something that is growing right now. And by the end of the month, I plan to create a Facebook group. So you can also go into the Facebook group. And eventually the Facebook group will be a paid off option, but not now. So when I start out, so if you come into the app and you come into the Facebook group, it will be free forever.
Oh, look at that. Oh my gosh. I cannot urge these listeners any more than you have to find this app. And all the information is going to be in the show notes. So make sure you check the show notes when you see this podcast, because we really want to make sure everybody benefits from the beautiful work that Stella is offering the world. I so appreciate your time here. And
thank you, Dr. Peggy.
Yes. And I'm wishing you well. And enjoy Sweden. One day I'll get there.
Yes, you're so welcome. Anytime, just give me a buzz.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening and supporting the Professional Women's Wellness Podcast. If you would like to attend training sessions by our amazing podcast guests and have a chance to connect, join the Professional Women's Wellness newsletter. For more details and to sign up, scan the QR code or click the link in the description. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a 5-star rating on Apple Podcast. Each week, we will select a reviewer who will receive free access to my $197 course, Goodbye Night Bites, a 30-day journey to stop emotional eating at night. Please subscribe to get notifications of future episodes.